Welcome to Gigs and Guitars, and in this edition we're going to take a look at the Gary Moore collection, which went to hammer at Bonhams auctions online last week. Stay tuned to find out more. About a month ago, I went to the Liverpool guitar show where I met with Bonhams, who had a selection of Gary Moore's guitars, which were coming up for auction online at Bonhams' website between the 20th of April and the 4th of May 2022. And I took a bit of an interest in this auction because I was tempted to have a bit of a bid at one of these very fine guitars which were coming up. Now, there was a good selection of guitars which were being promoted by Bonhams, and three in particular took my eye. Now, one of those was a 1961 Gibson SG Junior in TV yellow, and that one really caught my eye. And there's two others. There's the Frankfurt Les Paul in a normal kind of sunburst, which was a reissue, and equally a 57 gold top reissue as well. When I was looking at the 1961 Gibson SG, I liked it because, one, I've not got a vintage guitar. Most of mine are reissues, and I like the fact that, one, that had been owned by Gary Moore. Secondly, it was in quite a rare TV yellow colour. It's a 1961 vintage as well. So for me, there's three key elements of that guitar which made it an attractive proposition for me to basically put some bids in. In relation to that guitar, if you're basically looking at, say, a 1961 normal SG Junior, it'd be probably in like a natural kind of cherry finish. I did a little bit of research, and at the time of doing so, you could probably buy one online for about £5,000. So how did I go about the actual process? Firstly, I had to register with Bonhams, and what I had to do was prove to them exactly who I was, and I had to do that by providing me passport, which had a photograph on it, and equally send out utility bills to prove exactly where I lived. And once I'd completed those steps, they gave me an account number, and then I had to register for the auction itself, where I was given what's called a paddle number as well. So I had my account set up. I was really interested in the 1961 SG. So therefore, what I started doing in the background was starting to do some research on that actual guitar, just to check for myself in terms of the provenance of the guitar, just to find out a little bit more about it. They are quite rare. And what I did find was quite interesting. So when you're doing your research online for quite rare guitars such as this, there's not really a right lot of information around. If you remember, Gibson discontinued the original Les Paul and introduced what was called the SG as a replacement. And just to summarise, Les Paul himself, who was like the designer, architect of the original Les Paul, wasn't really happy about the SG shape. So 1961 was like a transition period where these guitars were often branded as Les Pauls, which became the SG, which meant solid guitar. So there's a little bit of a funny transition period. So trying to get the search right on the internet for finding a 61 Les Paul Junior or a 61 SG Junior is a little bit tricky, but I got there in the end. So during my internet search, I came across an old advert for a company called GAC in Brighton, which is Guitars and Keyboards, I think it's called. And I found an advert for a 1961 Gibson SG in TV yellow, previously owned by Gary Moore. And I thought, oh, this is a bit interesting. So if Gary Moore has sold that guitar to GAC, GAC has then sold it, so therefore, how has it come back into the Gary Moore collection to become a lot in a forthcoming auction in the next sort of few days? And I thought I need to delve a little bit further into this. I got on the phone, I contacted GAC, I was basically just sort of winging it, and I spoke to a great bloke there called Mike. Gary Moore basically lived around the corner, and he was in and out of their Brighton store on numerous occasions buying and selling guitars. Now, what he couldn't tell me was anything about the 1961 Gibson SG Junior in particular, but what he did say was that if the guitar was brought to them for sale, the guitar will have been sold. But that left one or two questions unanswered to me at that point. And I thought I need to delve a little bit further into this. Right, I'll just get slipping my brew because this gets a little bit interesting for me, and it basically opens up one or two kind of questions. Just bear with me. Excellent brew that. There's always time of the day for a brew. Get yourselves a brew, guys. So, okay, now, so I'm looking around on the internet and I'm thinking, right, so we've got a guitar that's been up for sale at GAC. It looks exactly like the guitar which Bonhams are offering for sale by the Gary Moore collection, and I've still got questions in my mind that need answering. So, more rooting around on the internet, and I come across a YouTube video from approximately about a year ago where Kylie Olson is basically speaking to a gentleman about his rather special guitar.
Look at that! What a beauty.
That's kind of known as TV yellow.
That is bright, isn't it?
And it's a really rare colour to see that period of SG.
And how did you get it?
Well, I bought it from a guitar restorer who actually got it from Gary Moore.
So I'm watching the video, and this guitar is a 1961 Gary Moore SG Junior in TV yellow. And I'm thinking, well, this was about a year ago. What's happening with this guitar? Where's it been? How's it got back to the Gary Moore collection? What happened when it went off to GAC? Who bought it? How's it ended up in the hands of another person called Emil? And I thought, this is a bit peculiar, is this? And I thought, I still need to get to the bottom of it. And you'll see it on the video now. You'll see they've produced a good 3-minute video on what is a wonderful, wonderful guitar. And for me, I've still got questions in my mind. Am I going to bid on this guitar at the minute with these two questions which I've yet to answer? So imagine if this was Gary Moore's Gibson SG from 1961. It's got quite a unique mark down this top edge. Okay, so what I'll do is just pop that down here for now. And when I've compared that marking to the one in Kylie Olson's video, there's no markings on that guitar, which leads me to believe there's actually two. Okay, so by this time, I've asked for a condition report from Bonhams. Bonhams sent one through. It took a few days for it to arrive. You're trying to make a judgment call on what are quite low resolution sort of photographs, even though I've handled the guitar myself. If I'd not been able to do that, then the actual photographs really do not serve me a right lot of purpose, to be honest. The condition report just went through the normal kind of basics of the guitar that they'd advertised for sale. Now, one interesting thing was that at the bottom of the condition report, it mentions that it's had a refinish. And I thought, ooh. Now, as we all know, in the world of guitars, in terms of authenticity, a refinish on a guitar often devalues the guitar into what's called a player's grade guitar rather than a collector's guitar. So for me, there's three things there which really needed sort of tidying up. Certainly the issues around what's happened to the guitar in the meantime. But which one of the guitars, for me personally, had been used in that gig by Gary Moore? The video is a VHS release, which is Blues for Greenie. Now the video isn't all that clear, but what it does clearly show is the Seymour Duncan pickup installed. However, but these can be changed very quickly and very easily to other guitars. What the video isn't clear about is the markings on this guitar when I've compared them to that being sold by Bonhams. I was about to go on holiday. I was itching to do more research. I was going to be on a narrowboat for 7 days in Warwickshire. My phone signal was going to be unpredictable. Would I be able to monitor the auction? Would I be able to put a bid in? Would I be able to do more research? And I thought, wow, this really isn't working for me at the minute. And so it was right down to the final moments before we left the house to go on this holiday where I decided,
I'm out.
I'm out. I'm not going to invest and I'm out.
If in doubt, do nout. Okay, so what did these guitars go for in the end? Well, they're on screen now. I've managed to film the actual sale of these guitars on my phone whilst I was away, and you will see the last minute of all three guitars actually going through the final stages of bidding. Now, what you will see is that we've got the 57 gold top reissue, we've got the 59 Les Paul Frankfurt guitar, which again is a reissue by the Gibson Custom Shop, and of course we've got the 1961 SG&TV Yellow. Now, I'm going to hit you now with the actual end results. So, okay, so the Gibson SG, just get me notes, that one came in at, say, £12,000. The 57 Les Paul Gold Top, that came in at £15,000 final bid. And the 59 Les Paul, the Frankfurt guitar, which he bought in Germany, and I think he used it on tours in Japan, that again came in at £15,000. Now guys, on top of that, you've got the hammer price, the auctioneer's rates, on top of that, their commission, which is at 26%. And on top of that, you've got a VAT, so it gives you a little bit of an idea of what these guitars' total prices worked out for. Then you've got shipping on top of that as well. I hope you found this edition of Gigs and Guitars interesting. And it's just a case of, if you're buying vintage instruments, you just got to make sure that you have the time to do the research correctly and properly, which I just didn't have. And I'm sure that these guitars are the genuine article, without a doubt. So if you've enjoyed this edition of Gigs and Guitars, please give me a like, subscribe, hit me in the bell icon, and send me some comments. You'll always get a reply, and there's always time in the day for a brew. Cracking.